Alright, so this video is based on my experience, and you should think very carefully about trying this if you don't want to risk not getting to medicine. But if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on courses, then make sure to stick around and watch the whole video. So let me share with you all my UCAT journey. Back in 2019 in year 12, I decided to take the UCAT test here in Australia. I'd always wanted to do medicine, but didn't really think that I would get in. So I thought, why not? Now, I knew that a few companies offered UCAT courses, and I attended a couple of seminars during the summer school holidays just to see what studying for the UCAT would entail. I remember these companies saying that you needed to do hundreds of hours of preparation in order to get above the 90 percentile mark. When I heard this, I was worried because I knew that year 12 was going to be a challenge in itself, and I couldn't imagine what doing ATAR and UCATs at the same time would look like. These companies then revealed the prices for their courses, and I was immediately turned off because the UCAT test itself is already $300, and if I paid a further $300 to $700 for a course, I was already looking at almost $1,000, and there was no guarantee that I was going to get into medicine. So this is what I decided to do. I said to myself, okay, I'm going to sit the UCAT test, but I will do my own preparation. I went onto the official UCAT website and found the question banks and practice tests. These were the only resources I used, along with the official UCAT app, which I jumped on when I was on the commute to and from school. And to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting to get as high a score as I did, so I was really surprised when I found out that I got 2930, which is about the 94th percentile mark back in 2019. Now, I know that this isn't that high of a mark, but it should be enough to get you an interview at most medical schools in Australia, provided your predicted or actual ATAR is competitive. Now, I won't go into the details of how to best tackle each section of the UCAT, because there are other videos on YouTube that do a very good job of this. I will link a few of these videos down in the description below. What I'll do instead is share with you all a few tips based on what I did that will hopefully help you plan your study. Number 1, attempt the question banks and app questions at least twice. So what I would recommend is doing the question banks and app questions once, 3 or 4 months before your test, to get a feel for what the questions are like. A good habit to start developing at this stage is going over the questions you get wrong and making sure that you understand how to get to the right answer. So do 1 or 2 question banks a day until you have attempted all of them, and then allow sufficient time, maybe a couple of weeks, to pass so that you don't remember the questions. You could go over any techniques or patterns that you've learned during this time so that you can apply them the second time you go through the question banks. Then, after a couple of weeks, repeat the process and see if your problem-solving skills, and more importantly, your results, have improved. Number 2, keep track of your progress. I found this really helpful as it allowed me to identify my areas of weakness. For example, I found verbal reasoning very difficult, so I focused most of my attention on verbal reasoning in the 1 to 2 weeks leading up to my test. It also helps you manage your time, as you don't have to focus on sections that you're most comfortable with. So for example, this is what I made on Notion. I recorded my score for each question bank and practice test that I did, and it not only allowed me to get a better picture of how I was doing, but it also served as motivation to improve upon my results, which is what you want when you're studying for a test that's very abstract like the UCAT is. Number 3, do not attempt the practice tests before you've done all the question banks. Why? I think that the practice tests are best done within 1 week of your test, as this primes your brain for the real test. And when you get round to doing the practice tests, make sure that you do them under test conditions, so that you'll feel comfortable when you do the actual test. There are only 3 or 4 practice tests, so you should make best use of them by trying your best in each one. So what I did was this: I would do 1 practice test every 2 days, with the day in between being a revision day. So by revision, I mean that I would take the results from my practice test and carefully dissect the questions that I got wrong, doing them slowly and figuring out the error in my thinking. After this, I would take the feedback on board and try to apply the skills I learned in my next practice test. So just to recap, the 3 strategies that I'd recommend to all of you is number 1, attempt the question banks and app questions at least twice with the aim of the first attempt to familiarize yourself with the style of questions. Number 2, keep track of your progress so that you can maximize the amount of time that you spend on the sections you're weakest at. And number 3, attempt the practice tests only after you've done the question banks at least twice, as this primes your brain for the real test. So I hope that this video was useful, and make sure to comment how you're progressing and any techniques that you use down below. Be sure to subscribe to Cubics Tips if you're new to the channel. All the best with your studies and have a nice day.